Hello there everybody, Jordan back again with another review, and this is going to be for the 2026 film Primate, and this is directed by Johannes Roberts and stars Johnny Sakoya and Troy Kotsur. When a bunch of friends get together at an isolated house, the family's pet chimpanzee turns rabid and starts to stalk, attack and murder them one by one. Well guys, I was very excited going into this one. I do love a good animal attack film, but I don't recall too many horror movies doing it with a chimpanzee. I mean, we did have a few sequences in Jordan Peele's Nope, which were my favourite parts of that movie, and definitely the scariest parts of that film. But I've never seen a movie go all the way for the whole runtime doing it. So going into this one, I thought, okay, we could get something fresh here. Monkeys are kind of like humans. They're smart. They think a lot like us in many ways, and they kind of look like us a little bit at times, you know. But I had a lot of early buzz as well from Fantastic Fest earlier last year. YouTubers saying I had a great time with this, so it just felt like it was right up my street. So I was very excited going into the cinema. And I gotta say, the whole chimpanzee look of Ben was great. It is a guy in a suit, but that's what we want, really. And I was thinking of other animal attack movies that we haven't seen. If you remember Baby's Day Out, where the gorilla, you know, takes on the villains and smashes their hand and everything, I always remember that being a man in a suit. So yeah, it was kind of a little bit of that feel going for it, but this is definitely the best way to do it. I'm glad they didn't go down the CGI path, because that would have just brought the movie so down for me. It looked so real, this monkey going around this house, and felt very dangerous, because CGI for me sometimes in horror movies just takes me right out the moment. It's never really scaring you for me unless it's done really, really well. But to do a whole movie like that, I don't think that would have worked for me here. But I'm glad they went with this route. I went down the more practical way of doing things. But speaking of practical, I loved the practical effects in this film. There was some awesome kills right here, and I live for this shit. The first opening 2 minutes of this movie lets you know what you are in for with one of the kills we see, and you just sit back and go, holy shit, they're not holding back here. You know, they're going for the 18 rating, and it does continue for the rest of the movie. There are some solid moments here involving the kills, so much creativity, and so many times I was like, oh, I could sort of get that phantom pain where you kind of feeling some bones break here and there. Yeah, very, very inventive, very, very gory. I'm just glad they did that, because they are appealing to horror fans here who go to movies to see lots of blood and gore and great kills. I mean, there's almost a Michael Myers approach here, where Ben will just come out of the shadows here and there, lurking around corners. There's a real stalking element to this monkey. He feels very, very smart in the way he's thinking and trying to pick off these characters one by one. Almost, dare I say, had a slasher element to it, because it was just this monkey stalking these helpless victims one by one, using the strength that it has, you know, because chimpanzees are way stronger than humans and everything. And it's just made for a very, very scary animal. So I like the whole way of dealing with things there, going down the more sort of monkey killer approach. Thought that was a really good way of doing this. And there's some really cool sequences in this movie. Lots of times where characters are just stuck in corners and can't really get out, because if they do, they're dead, and they have to try and outsmart the monkey and everything. Other moments where they are being chased and everything. But one of my favourite moments in this film was this dad, played by Troy Kotsur. He is deaf in real life. If you've seen the movie Coda, he puts a wonderful performance in there. I love the guy every time I see him in movies. And he's in this one, and there is a sequence where Ben is kind of stalking him, but all around the audio just goes silent, because we are kind of seeing it from his point of view. And it really does amp up the tension there. So I love that moment. I thought that was a very clever way of doing it. And it just sort of made you realise what it must be like from his position in this movie. But yeah, lots of great little moments like that. I gotta say, guys, the group of characters we get here were fun to be around. Okay, it's typical throwaway cannon fodder that you get in slasher movies, but whilst we had a small screen time with some and a longer screen time with others, I was never bored of these characters with the dialogue and everything. They were just fun to be around. They are typical teenagers, but there's some funny moments, some great comedic timing and everything with these characters. Never overdone too much, but one moment had me in fits of laughter at the cinema where our main girl, Lucy, played by Johnny Segoya, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, was on the phone to these two boys they met at the airport, and man, what she said just had me laughing so much. So it was just, they were likeable enough. But she is kind of caught in a rock and a hard place. She's our main character in this movie, between her pet chimpanzee, Ben, and her friends. I mean, she doesn't really want to harm him because she's known Ben all her life, but she also understands that she got to protect her friends. So at times she's caught on this kind of double-edged sword, if you like, and I thought that was an interesting dynamic to have for her character. Some people would just say, man, you got to just kill that damn monkey, but when you're faced with that situation, I mean, is it really that much of an easy thing to do? I mean, could you just kill your pet dog if they went mad for a few hours? I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a conversation, but I like that approach to her character. However, guys, my biggest positive about this film would be that this movie just wants to have fun. I mean, it's a 90-minute film that gets you in, gets you out, and entertains you, especially for horror fans who just want to see a lot of gore, a lot of kills, and have a great time. And that's what this movie kind of delivers. There's a lot of films made these days with metaphorical messaging or social commentary, and whilst I don't mind them movies because they're doing something interesting and have something to say at times, more often than not, I would prefer just to go into movies like this. It harkens back to the 90s, the 80s, and I feel like that's where it took its inspiration from. So for me, if they're your type of films, you'll have a good time with this. However, guys, there are a few negatives with this film that kind of brought it down for me a little bit, and I have a huge problem with the lighting in this film. A lot of people may disagree with this, but there were just so many moments in this film, basically 90% of the runtime, especially when we sort of get into the whole horror element type of things, where it's just so dark. It does not need to be this dark. Maybe light it up a little bit there. There's a kill that happens later on in the third act, and I was struggling to see what the hell was even going on, which was such a shame because all the other kills were great. But here I was watching it going, is this the editing or the lighting? I mean, what the hell is happening in this sequence? I spoke to my friend who said the exact same thing, and even he enjoyed the movie. But he was kind of stuck in that moment as well, going, yeah, that was kind of hard to tell what was happening there. So I really wish they would have just lit the movie up a little bit. It is too dark for what this type of film is. I mean, it can work at times as well for the monkey coming out of the shadows and everything. Maybe that's what they were going for. I just think they overdid it. But there's also a lot of dragged out sequences in this movie, especially in the middle portion there. When I spoke about some of the good sequences you have where characters are cornered and everything, there's a lot of sneaking around here and there that goes on for way too long. Characters just stuck in one position for way too long. And at first it can seem like very tension building. How are they going to get out of this? But the longer it drags on, you're like, okay, can we move the movie on a little bit there? I mean, it wasn't a huge negative, but it just felt like it was trying to fill the runtime out. And I gotta say, guys, I don't know if this is just me, but I was very confused as to who was who in this movie for the first 20 or 30 minutes of this film. So we do have this main character who meets her friend on a plane, and they're very excited for the summer because they're going to stay in this main character's house. But her friend decides to bring this other girl along who she hardly knows without even asking her. And she's coming to stay in the house as well, along with her friend's brother. And I was really scratching my head going, whose house is this? Because surely this girl hasn't just invited her brother and her friend to her house without even asking. We're getting there, and other characters are speaking to the main girl's dad, like it's their dad. And I was like, oh, so he's the father? Oh no, actually, it's the main character's girl who the father is. It was just... It didn't have to be that confusing. Maybe it was just me, guys. But I was really trying for the first 25 minutes of this film, trying to work out whose house this damn thing was. But guys, I did have a lot of fun with this. I thought it was going to be a little bit better. Maybe I went in with high expectations. But those little negatives just brought it down a little bit. However, it's still a fun time. If you like horror and animal attack movies, there's definitely something for you here. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Primate a 6.5 out of 10. If it weren't for the lighting issue, I probably would have bumped this up a little bit, but that was a huge negative for me, unfortunately. Hey guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. If you want more 2026 horror movie reviews, they'll be in the link down below. What did you think of Primate? Please do let me know. Sorry this review is 3 weeks late, but America got this at the start of January. We get it at the end. If horror is your sort of thing, guys, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you all on the next video. Take care.